Today it's the turn of two compact sedans with a sporting twist to go head-to-head in the Edmunds comparison, as the Audi A3 takes on the Cadillac ATS. Hello, I'm Alistair Weaver, your host, judge and jury, and I'm joined by Mike Monticello representing the Audi A3 and Jay Kavanagh talking up the Cadillac ATS. The first category up is driving experience. Mike, tell me about the Audi.
You know, I think the A3 does more with less. You know, the larger of the two four-cylinders, the 2.0T, only has 220 horsepower versus the ATS's 272, yet it's a half-second quicker to 60 miles per hour. And I also just prefer this Audi engine in general. I mean, it sounds great, there's power everywhere, you know, and it's just a nicer, sweeter engine than the ATS, which sounds and acts a little more industrial.
Yeah, I agree that the ATS Turbo 4, maybe isn't the most exciting engine in the world, but it does have a lot of torque in the mid-range, and it's got less turbo lag than the A3. And also, your 0 to 60 comparison isn't quite apples to apples because you're comparing an all-wheel drive A3 to a rear-wheel drive ATS, and it's the last-gen ATS, which has a little bit less power.
So you're already calling me a cheat.
Well, I just got to throw it out there. And there's more. You can get a 3.6-liter V6 that has 321 horsepower. The A3 doesn't have anything like that.
I'm going to completely ignore your point and move on to handling. You know, the A3 it's a light and nimble little car, and it drives like it. It just has a really nice, responsive handling character. And also, I prefer its transmission as well. You know, it's got a S-tronic paddle shift gearbox with really quick shifts, great throttle blip downshifts, whereas the ATS is automatic. It shifts a little more slowly, and it has kind of awkward rev match downshifts.
Yeah, but one thing the A3 doesn't have that the ATS has, manual gearbox. I mean, it's got a limited slip, it's got rear-wheel drive handling dynamics, crisp steering. This is really the enthusiast pick here, certainly more so than the A3.
Well, you both make pretty decent arguments, but for its punchy V6 and its rear drive dynamics, I'm going to give a point to the ATS. So, moving on to interior, Jay, let me cue you up.
Well put, Alistair. Yeah, the first thing that Mike's going to bring up is the Q multimedia system, which I'll acknowledge the Audi MMI system has the edge over, but Q has really improved over the years. They've done continual updates, and it's really much better than it used to be. And while the materials in the ATS aren't quite up to the Audi's level, it's a more stylish cabin. It's got a little bit more flair. But really where the Cadillac shines is in interior space. There's just more room in the front in terms of headroom, leg room, and shoulder room in the ATS than the A3.
Well, since you already brought up Q and ragged on it for me, I don't need to even bother with that. But I will admit that the ATS actually has a fancier interior. The A3 is more minimalist in its design, but it's not like it's devoid of equipment. I like to think of it as more beautiful in its simplicity. And there's cool stuff in this cabin. I mean, the MMI screen rises up from the dash, and it's got these neat swiveling air vents. And if you opt for nav, you get MMI with handwriting recognition, so you can actually trace a letter with your finger for inputting your destination.
For me, this isn't even close. No one does interiors like Audi in the entire automotive world, so the A3 gets a point. Mike, it might have a great interior and finger recognition technology or whatever it's called, but does the Audi represent good value?
Well, I think it does. I mean, the A3 starts at just under 31 grand, and that's with standard sunroof, xenon headlights, 8-way power driver's seat, and leather, whereas the ATS starts around 34 grand for the 2.54 cylinder that frankly no one wants.
Well, Mike, up to this point, we've only been talking about the 2.0T version of the A3, which starts at just under $34,000. And in the ATS, you're getting more of the real deal hardware that we like. And hey, I like that you don't have to get a sunroof in the ATS. It's an optional thing, and you do too.
I admit nothing. And you notice I'm like a politician. I only give the information that's pertinent to my case. So speaking of which, let's talk fuel economy. The A3 is rated at 27 mpg combined, and if you get the turbo diesel, you get 36 mpg combined. The ATS can't come anywhere near that.
For its excellent fuel economy, my point goes to the Audi. So the final round is our Wildcard, where pretty much anything goes. So Jay, what can Detroit offer that Ingolstadt cannot?
Well, the ATS is clearly the enthusiast choice here. It's correct wheel drive, it has engaging driving characteristics, and you can get it with a stick. The ATS represents kind of a role reversal among the stereotypes we usually have with American and German cars.
For me, the A3 is all about variations. You can get it with front-wheel drive, you can get it with all-wheel drive. There's two different spec turbo 4 cylinders. You can get it with a turbo diesel, you can get it as a convertible, and you can even get it as a high-performance S3 version with 292 horsepower.
Here's something that Cadillac offers that no Audi A3 can compete with, and that's the upcoming ATS-V version, which will sail right past your Audi S3 on its way to taking down the M3.
Well, like you, Jay, I can't wait for the ATS-V, and I admire Caddy's spirit and their determination to take on the Germans. But for its extra depth of quality and the extra breadth of its range, my wildcard point is still, reluctantly, going to go to Mike and the Audi. 1 point. So there you have it, the Audi A3 is a clear winner. For full reviews of both the A3 and the ATS, click here and be sure to subscribe to the Edmunds channel for all the latest videos.